Okay, my journey started in 2005. I began a line of herbal alternatives, and I was creating neurological formulas through herbs. Well, what we discovered is I was an ex-athlete, 12 concussions. Some of those came, two of the most serious ones came from my parents. I kicked into a fireplace, hit over the head with a 2x4. I was a terrible ice skater as a child, couldn't skate. Had a couple there. I played football and I was a boxer. And so concussion, 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 concussion. So in about 2012, when my company blew up, my brain blew up just shortly thereafter. That was enough stress. Apparently, when you have that type of upbringing and you carry that much turmoil and pain, you suppress it to survive. And so all that suppression between and then the blowing up my business, I lost everything. It just blew up, and I lost my vision, and I had what they call a TIA, which is a mini stroke. And I believe I had CTE, although I'm not a cadaver. So back then they couldn't do a biopsy, but I was in a very dark place. I lost my vision. I lost my secondary languages. I only knew, I spoke a few others besides English. Primary is in a different part of your brain. So I can still speak English, but I'm still allergic to like UV lights, and my eyes get like, my eyes are still affected by it, but lost my speech patterns and all kinds of horrific symptoms, depressed, very dark place. And no one could fix me. In fact, it took a lot of people a very long time to figure out what was wrong with me. So, and no one could fix me. And I said, okay, being a strong-headed male, we can fix everything, which is completely untrue, but I figured I'd give it a go. So I started reading about lights, and I had them in my life, but I didn't want them. I was still viewing them as kind of a toy. I didn't really take them as serious until I really started digging into it and learning about what you just talked about, the Healy and all these things. And they're real, because I went on a quest to prove that item that you have wrong. It's not wrong. It's real. And so I started with toys and small, affordable ones, and then started noticing little things, not significant, but enough to say, I feel like this is a journey that I should continue. So I started getting better ones, and I started coming back. And although many of the symptoms, the depression, the anxiety, the anger, all were still there, but I was able to treat them, and I was able to manage them. And so in about 2014, maybe 15, I started coming out of it, victim to advocate. Then I went to sales. Then I went to a distributor, and then I went to a brand owner, because I didn't want to work for the companies that were out there, old technology. There was nothing forcing them to innovate. Why should we change? We're 30 years old, and no one's forcing us to innovate. Well, okay, so here comes David. Everything I do, I want to do well, and I wanted to innovate this, and I wanted to make it more affordable. So when I entered with Neural Care Systems, it's actually Advanced Neural Care Systems at that time, and the name was too long, so we changed it. And the systems were going for $6,000, $6,000 US. So I came in with twice the sophistication, twice the quality, more advanced firmware in the electronics, and I cut the price in half. So my goal was to make this more advanced and affordable. It ain't about money for me. Of course, we're all driven by revenues, but it is. I don't need a big house on the hill. I don't need a Ferrari, although I would like a Ferrari, because I shall call her Desiree, and because she's beautiful car. But I'm about bringing this to society, and I, as I said earlier, I feel honored and privileged to do that. And because what I know for sure, if I do it myself, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to constantly advance the technology. So we are the elite company, like no question, in terms of sophistication advancements. Are we the largest? No. Will we be the largest? I mean, I don't know that that's my goal, but my goal is definitely to make this more affordable.
Yeah.
So I started a neural care center in South Padre Island, Texas. If you don't know where that is, it's in the very tip of Texas on an island near Brownsville. And I'm actually a California guy, lived in Austin, but I wanted some sand between my toes, so I moved there. And so I opened up the center, and when these seniors would go into a physician's office, they were paying $120 an hour. They wanted to put a care package together. They put a bunch of stuff that they don't really need, and they charge them $7,000, and it's self-pay. And because they have peripheral neuropathy, it's such a miserable, horrible, desperate disease, they go ahead and do it. They either finance it, or they put it on a credit card, or take it out of their savings. Many of them can't afford it, but if you have peripheral neuropathy, you will make it affordable. So that was bothersome to me. So I came out with a new line called Pulse Neurocare. The centers were called Pulse Wellness Center. They'll change the name to NeuroCare Center because, in case I like the name NeuroCare, clearly every company I have has that name involved. So we wanted to make this every day. Seniors could come in for $49 a session. Now, you can't get a manicure for $49.
Yeah, right.
So we made it affordable and we started doing seminars. And I love watching people that are stubborn, particularly in Texas. This ain't going to work with that Texas accent. And then 2 days later, okay, it works. I want a system. So we were bringing them into the centers, $49 every day. And I did mental acuity and other stuff, mental acuity, because that's the only thing I could do, peripheral neuropathy, nerve lumbar pain, joint pain. And that covers pretty much 80% of seniors. And then COVID hit. So, and then I opened up a center in Clearwater, but then COVID hit. And so June of last year, I shut it down. Sorry, when I get served lemons, I turn into lemonade. So I spent that time during COVID making the most advanced. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If this little virus is going to beat me, or at least slow me down or put me into check, because the idea was to keep opening these centers. And I had this huge motor coach that was like a 40-foot two motor coach. We're going to wrap it. We're going to go to areas, free event, free care. Come and see what we have. Really free stuff. Not trying to with an incentive. And then open up the center, move to the next city. That was sort of my goal. But I took that time and really advanced the technology. And the stuff that's on the market, 99% of everything on the market is called through-hole technology. Every other row, infrared, red, infrared, red. And those are the two light waves. And it only, if you look at my fingers, this is a 30-degree spread. Okay, that's an aperture of 30 degrees. So you got every other row, and it only puts the 30 degrees. It takes the photons and puts it into the tissue at 30 degrees. Problem, you have a lot of tissue voids, and you have too much heat. So if you have too much heat, you don't want to heat up the brain. So what we did is we went with the new technology called surface mounted diodes. All the extra excrements are gone. There's no lens enhancers, heat diffusers. It's pure photon, and it's chipsets. So each chipset has both frequencies in it. So if you look at it, before it was, you couldn't see the infrared with the naked eye. So you'd see red, can't see this line, you can see red. Well, now it's every single chipset has both frequencies, and it projects it at 120 degrees. So it takes these photons and puts it all, it diffuses them and puts them into the cells evenly. Well, what a great medical application. And so everything ran on 12 volts before, but because my instance, my boots, they're called the thigh high 442s. Well, that's 442 diodes compared to everybody else has 122. So not only do we have more energy, but I can do huge biosites. I can do the entire leg now at one time. I have a BrainCap 280 that can do the entire brain. I got lumbar pads at 440 diodes, all really powerful. So now you can do everything. Now we can do any care vertical that you could possibly imagine with 3 products. So when people buy a system, it's not $6 grand. Now they can buy it for $1,500 and treat their entire family. Wow. That's my goal. Is see, when I say that I'm privileged to bring to society, yeah, okay, that's great. That sounds really cool. But what's even better, it's got to be affordable.
Yeah,
it's got to be affordable. You got to give people a reason to not have to take out a loan for their health care. Yeah. So that's what we're going to keep doing. Now, I know this one's kind of a fun one, but I have a weight loss one coming out. If you do the right color and at the right milliwatts per centimeter square, you can burn fat right off a human body and the liquid, and literally. So I want to get women and men, well, particularly women, more involved because they're the ones that influence their men generally in this country. So if I bring them in with weight loss, every woman goes right into weight loss. It's like the other thing. I got this thing called a Radiant. It's like an LED. It's an LED facial. You can whiten teeth. We call it the human bug zapper for women. They see it at a show, they fly right into it. Because what woman doesn't want beauty, right? Thank God, because us men don't do anything about it. And so, yeah, it's really, really cool technology. And so we do everything now. It's kind of like where this is going. The fat loss will bring people in. And now I can do my education, start to educate them. And it kind of is what I really want to do, is kind of bring this technology more where it attracts people to it, and then really start to open their eyes. I mean, I do these things called light night. If you want, I'll send you some pictures. I do a light night. I'll have 100 people there. And you get free facials. You can do free whatever you want. Just come in. I'm serving, street tacos or, whatever, and they come in for the event and they learn about it. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I want to do.
But your new products, will they also be on that same website?
With the weight loss or the BrainCap and all those, they're there now. They're on NeuroCare Pro now. Yeah, yeah. NeuroCare Pro is all the advanced stuff. The NeuroCare Pro is all the advanced brain cap, boots, and lumbar pad. Like I said, and before I had like 9 pads. I had blue and I had this and I had that. I'm looking at my sales going, I don't sell many blue. Blue is excellent, by the way. Blue, you can kill acne. You can, if you get bit by a brown recluse, you can put a light on there and it just neutralizes it. You can do pretty cool stuff with it. You do your adrenals with it, treat those with it. Well, you can do it with thread too, but I have 3 pads now. I have the brain cap. Well, actually more because I have 2 different types of boots. But really, we've narrowed it down to 4 or 5 products. Yes. 4 or 5 products is affordable to any family.
Yeah.
It's a full circulatory system, and I can address any health need I want if I believe in life therapy and I want to go that route. Yeah. If I don't want to go that route, well, clearly you'll use it for what you wish. But that's what it's designed for. I mean, I have a scar here. You can't see it because, first of all, I'm probably not looking into that. I have a scar that was big as about big as probably a penny, maybe a little larger. And I was treating my elbow because we all type like this now, and we're not designed for that. And I got tendonitis. So I was treating my elbow. It's perfectly now, but that scar was a 40-year-old scar. That scar itched, turned red, and scabbed over after 40 years of dead tissue. That's called angio and neurogenesis. And let me tell you something. I have it right here to prove it. It's almost completely gone. And I mean, it was, like I said, it was quite large. And it's, oh my God, it's half the size, maybe a third the size of a pea. Now people go, why don't you get it all the way off? I really don't care about the scar. It's a good story, right? Yeah. So I'm a believer. Not only did I fix my own brain, and people probably listening and says, you didn't do a good job. Well, you saw me before I did. That's a joke. We can laugh anytime. Yeah. But I still hike. I treat my hips because I walk on the sand and it's always on an incline. So I tend to feel it in my hips more. But I treat my legs every day. I treat my hips, my joints, my brain. And look, I don't know what the long-term effects are going to be, but I'm doubling the blood flow in my biocytes, my organs. Yeah. We call that the fountain of youth, where I come from. And you know, the other interesting thing here is 80% of the physiological changes you're not going to know about. If you're putting lights all over your body and you don't have a symptom, how do you know what you avoided? How do you know? You could have had, a clot that was sitting there at one time, and maybe February 1st, 2022, you're going to have an aneurysm. That clot's going to release. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But that clot treating it on your leg, say it was just behind the knee, and it's going to travel, up through the pulmonary, going through the spine. Yeah. How do you know that you didn't save your life by using light therapy? You're doubling the blood flow. And here's another idea. We're all full of inflammation. I mean, I get people all day long just on migraines. It's like, you ever had a migraine? I haven't, but they rave about it. It's like, well, there's a particular nerve that's a common nerve, and I'm not going to get into all of it because you're not looking for a medical degree, and I don't have the skill set to give you one. But that's the thing I think I'm most impressed with, when like people get these benefits that they do know. Like one of my employees, her dad was treating for peripheral neuropathy. I bring that up a lot because obviously we do a lot of that. Well, the wife was using the lights, and she had varicose veins for 50 years. She was using them. And Catherine, who was my employee, said, Mom, your varicose veins are gone. She goes, what? Because her mom's a workout fiend. 50 years. And I'm not saying that's a health thing, but what a wonderful secondary benefit. Yeah. Right. And I get this all the time. I had a guy treating his legs for peripheral neuropathy, had eczema. No one could get rid of it. Calls me up one day, goes, my eczema's gone. I said, okay. He goes, David, I've had it for 15 years. No one can get rid of it. The lights got rid of it. I said, well, that's outstanding. Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, post-traumatic stress disorder, early onset dementia, Alzheimer's. You might want to read some studies and take a look at those controllers, because it's leaning heavily towards we could have those out of our lives. I mean, any family who had an Alzheimer relative, it's devastating. I've seen it firsthand. It's devastating that they don't know who you are anymore, and they're losing their mind.
But if someone has already Alzheimer's and is already off the planet already, can it reverse it?
Well, the studies. Okay, so you have this beta amyloid protein. It's a toxic poison that suffocates the human brain. Now, this would be a better question for a neurologist, but of course they would want to prescribe some medications. Just kidding, any neurologist that's watching, kind of. they're starting to discover that it started in a rat disco. They were flashing light at 40 hertz, and the rats that were Alzheimer's rats all of a sudden normalized. And they said, okay, something's going on here. The study strongly suggests that you can reverse Alzheimer's. Strongly suggested. We don't do clinicals because we don't have the bandwidth and we don't have the credentials to make them a credentialed study. Yeah. I have a lot of people wanting me to get involved with it, with the equipment. And that's probably going to happen in the future, but COVID has changed a lot of things, how we approach this thing, and we hopefully the life normalizes. But yeah, I mean, early onset dementia, you think about this, all neurological disorders, if you use the principle of all neurological disorders have a loss of blood flow, which is true. Yeah. And this increases the blood flow and reduces inflammation. Kind of Occam's razor, which is a scientific term, the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. Yeah. So if I double the blood flow in the human brain, and the gray matter increases dramatically, and what that disease is, and I pulse it at the particular hertz that disease is reacting to, it's common sense that you would see some positive results.
Good.
And studies are strongly suggesting it. I mean, if you want to see some studies we can talk about next time, I'll put some interesting stuff in your hands. When you see this brain scan, you're going to be like, are you kidding me? It's stunning. Good. So just from mental acuity, look, as we age, we talked about everything starts to our circulatory system, our lymphatic system, it all starts to slow down. And that's just what aging is. And that's why cells dies. They're not getting enough oxygen, enough glucose, nourishment, nutrients. So, it's kind of cool if you just put on a brain cap and just say, I want to keep my mind sharp. I'm not trying to treat any disease. I want to make sure my mind is sharp. And being that there's no contraindications, and I can actually strengthen my mind. There's a guy, why wouldn't I do it? There's a guy named, he was a football player. He had CTE. He did one treatment of light therapy. His memory came back after one treatment. He's a football player named Crumry, played with the Cincinnati Bengals. You can YouTube it. Just look up Crumry, starts with a C, C-R, I can't spell it. I don't even know how to spell his name, but it's Crumry, if you can figure out how to spell it. And he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, I think in the 70s. Just listen to his story. These are firsthand accounts of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and let's talk about another thing. This isn't just United States, but since I know the universities here better than anywhere else, Harvard, Oxford in the UK, Stanford, Yale, University of Boston, University of Wisconsin, all have full departments committed to this technology called photonic medicine. Yeah. If it wasn't real, then why is there departments there?
Yeah.
Why are they getting grants on brain studies from the U.S. government? And people say there's a woman, Hamlin, who's with Harvard, Nasser, who's with Boston College, and then there's penetration studies by Anders, Professor Anders. She's with the she's with the military uniform universe of the United States or whatever it's called. She does all the cadaver penetration studies into the human brain. So we know, people go, how can light penetrate the skull? Well, pick up Anders' papers and you can see the studies all over the place, and it'll blast right through the skull tissue and address it'll get that brain blood flow dramatically improved.